Well, hello folks, we're back out. First time since my knee surgery. Today we are in Matlock in Derbyshire. And where we're going to? Well, we're off to Cuckoo Stone. Then we're heading back towards the Bentley Brook. Once we get to the Bentley Brook, we'll turn down and head down the Lumsdale Valley, which is an interesting place in itself. Shortish walk as I'm still getting back after my knee recovery. The Lumsdale Valley is part of the Richard Arkwright Society. So there's some historical mills and also a couple of waterfalls as well. Eventually we'll get back to Matlock. So this route is about 6.5 miles long. So a reasonably short walk, but an easier walk if you'd like to do it for yourself. So with that, let's head up and out of the busy, noisy area of Matlock and back to them country lanes. Feel free to subscribe. Well, so much for the British weather forecast. According to them, it was meant to be 2 degrees today. I know I'm walking uphill, but crikey, the knickerknackeroos are warming up. Anyway, we're heading up towards Cuckoo Stone Grange, and then we'll head up to Cuckoo Stone itself. As we start to climb to the top of this hill and get to Cuckoo Stone Grange, beforehand, we're going to visit a couple of local landmarks. And here is one of our first landmarks. Now this outcrop of gritstone is called the Wishing Stone. As the legend goes, if you run round 9 times, you'll get a wish. Or alternatively, you can walk around 3 times and then stand on the top of the rock. Your wish will be granted. So let's try it out. It's 14 feet from one end to the other. And there's a single gritstone around this area. Now gritstone is generally seen in the Dark Peak area of Derbyshire, but there are certain outcrops dotted about like this one. Well, that's one time round. I shouldn't have chosen this on a frosty day when the ground's icy, but hey ho, that's 2. And that is 3. 3 times around the boulder, and now we head up onto the top, make our wish. And my wish is to get off this gritstone boulder. Wow, and like magic, and off the boulder. Wishes do come true, if you hope that much. Right, we're going to head over to Bailey's Tump now. We have just reached Bailey's Tump. These mounds are made from soil from the excavations for the Derbyshire Valley Aqueduct. This pipeline was installed through the fields to the west of here in the early 1900s. The pipeline carried water from the Ladybower, Howden and the Derwent Dams to Leicester, which is 40 miles to the south. The landowner at the time was Ernest Bailey, so the site became known as Bailey's Tump. In 1940, Bailey's Tump was fortified as an air defence site, as an outer defence of Sheffield's steel industry, which was crucial during World War II. So in the centre of Bailey's Tump, at the front, we've got the machine gun posts. Over here was located a generator that actually powered the site. Over there, we've got sound locators. And then over this side, we've got the old spotlight, which has obviously needed a lot of power. In the centre, we've got a little bit of a dugout, probably a foxhole where there was probably some sort of gun position protecting the centre of the site. And then over here, we've got a slight construction, a concrete shelter. Now the concrete structure was built by the Stanton Ironworks, called Ironworks, but they used to make concrete structures as well. So this is built as a protection shelter for the crew that was based up here in World War II. After World War II, it was no longer used and it became a bit of a local landmark. Now, looking over in that direction, so behind me, as you can see up on the top of the hill in the hazy sunshine, is Ryber Castle. Now Ryber Castle, a bit like Nottingham Castle, is not actually a castle. Nottingham Castle is a Masonic museum, and Ryber Castle was just built as a house for John Smedley. He built a factory, and that was a knitwear factory. And now today, even today, it's a luxury knitwear factory. Anyway, John Smedley lived in there from 1862 to his death, I think it was 1895. From there, it became a boys' prep school. And then it became a rehabilitation hospital for soldiers of First World War. After that, in the Second World War, it was used as a storage place. Now, going on a bit further on, in the 70s and 80s, it became a wildlife park and zoo with some exotic animals. And actually, at the same time, it was a campsite. Well, just below it, I remember camping there as a teenager. After that, it went into disrepair. All the way to about COVID, it was wondering what it's going to be. Was it going to be a spa? Was it going to be houses and apartments? And that's what it is today. In the last few years, they have been converted into luxury apartments. And I'll show you some of the pictures of the apartments today. They're quite expensive. As we walk away from Bailey's Tump, just on the mound behind those trees there, just coming across here, we've got Severn Trent, and this would be a pump house. So I'm guessing this is the pump house to the pipeline that feeds down towards Leicester from the Lady Bower, Derwent and Howden reservoirs. Anyway, we're continuing this way and we're now heading towards Cuckoo Stone Grange. We are heading up Sandy Lane at the moment. I think about a kilometre walking along here. On our right hand side, we'll be able to see the golf course in a moment. And then what we're going to do is head down to fairway 11 of the golf course. When we get there, we'll be able to see a stone, the Cuckoo Stone. As the locals say, Cuckoo Stone. Right, let's get over to it. So on our left, up there, that's Matlock Moor, and that's where the Bentley Brook starts. And we're going to follow its course later on in this walk. Oh, here we go. Haven't seen one of these for a while. So this is an Ordnance Survey benchmark. The chiselled horizontal marks put them on stone structures, which an angle iron could be placed to form a bench for a levelling rod. Always close the gate, part of the countryside code. As you find it, that's how you leave it, close. Here we are at the Cuckoo Stone. Now, it is part of the golf course. The golf course is obviously private, although there is a walkway across it. I'm not going to walk onto it. This is the 11th fairway. Why is it called the Cuckoo Stone? Well, nobody actually knows. This whole area is called Cuckoo Stone Grange and it's named after the Cuckoo Stone. So the stone is actually 7 feet in height. a single piece of gritstone. Now, why is it here? Again, nobody really knows, but there is a story. Up behind where the camera is Matlock Moor that we spoke about a moment ago. On Matlock Moor was a stone circle called the Seven Bryden. Now, when I said there was, in 1725, a drawing was done of this stone circle. And as you can see by the picture, there's one particular stone that looks a bit pointed, possibly like that stone there, because by the 1900s, the stone circle disappeared. Only 2 of the 7 stones still remain. So 5 stones have all disappeared. One of them, as I said, is a bit pointy, like this one. Is that the stone of the stone circle? And if it is, why have they moved it about 2 kilometres from the top of Matlock Moor down to here? Because back in the 1900s, I'm guessing this wasn't a golf course. So this is the Cuckoo Stone. What we're going to do, head across the golf course now. We're going to follow it along the side, pick up onto the Chesterfield Road, and then we'll head on to our next location, which is the Peters Brook. And by the Peters Brook is a historical location that we'll head down to. As we head away from the busy road, we're now walking on the footpath alongside the Bentley Brook. As we head along, we're going to go through the Lumsdale Valley. Now, this is a historical area, so some are in ruins today, where some of them are still being used and some have been converted into apartments. But 300 years ago was a different story, and the power of the Bentley Brook, as we can see behind us, helped the Industrial Revolution start in this area. So we're going to head on down. We're going to come across to some of these mills, and there's a couple of waterfalls as well. So it's well worth following me along and see what we find. To our right is one of the mill ponds. Now, as you can see, this one is actually all dried up. So this is the upper mill pond, and we'll come across a few of these as we continue down along the Bentley Brook. Now, just near here is an old mill. It's called the bone mill. So the first mill we come across is the bone mill. In ruins today, it was used for lead smelting and then used for crushing animal bones for making pottery and fertilizers until the 1920s. So we're just arriving at the start of the Lumsdale Valley, and as it says, it's a scheduled monument and conservation area. Now, there is some information about the Bentley Brook there and some more information about the Lumsdale Valley. We're going to head down this path and then we'll head down to where these interesting and historical mills are. So let's go. The upper and middle ponds were both constructed in the 1780s, when the new factories were being built lower down the valley. In 1947, when very deep snow thawed, the large retaining wall of the upper pond gave way. What is left is the brook meandering through the site of the pond, and the trees and shrubs which have grown up since. The water-powered lead smelting factory, now called the Bone Mill, may have operated as early as the 16th century. Whereas the more visible dam wall was built in the 1780s. They are both here because of the Bentley Brook, the power source for all the mills in the Lumsdale Valley. Lumsdale was also important because of the gritstone quarried in the hillside. A lane from the quarry once crossed the stream by a clapper bridge, the remains of which are now used as stepping stones. Okay, we've just reached the middle pond. This was built in the 1780s. Now, it did dry up at a certain time and broke its banks, but in 2014 they reinstalled it. Now the two mill cottages you can see over there, in 1749 a smelting furnace was built into them, and we can see they're still being used today. So we're going to continue down. We'll see some of the other mills as we get down. This is the lower pond. It was built in the 1850s as a holding pond to ensure a continuous supply of water power to drive machinery and keep the workers busy in mills further down the valley. It is on the site of an old quarry and was constructed with an impressive step dam up to 4 meters deep and had a stone plug and drain in its base. A feeder pipe visible in the outside of the dam wall shows that water power was also used to drive what was probably a grinding mill, later a sawmill. Just below the dam wall, the lower pond had been dredged and restored several times. The sawmill was built in the 1850s. It was used first to grind minerals for paint, but later became a sawmill. It featured a large burr grinding stone, which was imported from France, plus with a further 4 piers of locally made millstones. All were located inside the mill. By the side of the old paint mill, you can see this circular trough. Now this was used for bleaching yarn. So this chimney here was an extraction point from the fume from the lower Garter mills, which we'll be heading down to in a moment. This is the remains of the paint mill. It's the oldest of the mills and dates back to the 1600s. First used as an early lead smelting mill, and then it was used for grinding corn. After that, it changed again to bleaching textiles and eventually went on to being used for grinding bar types for the paint industry, hence later being named the paint mill. By the side of the paint mill is the grinding mill. It features an impressive wheel pit built around 1770. Water would have been fed from the falls onto the wheel from a cast iron pipe. The mill was most likely built as a corn mill, then went on to grinding red lead. This is the Lumsdale Falls, power of water heading down the valley, which feeds these mills. And this particular water source, the Bentley Brook, has never ran dry in over 300 years, which is spectacular at this time of year, as you can quite clearly see. And a lovely gem of this area of conservation and historical nature. So one of the things I am still struggling with since my surgery is going downstairs or steps. So this is great because there's hundreds of them as I head down into the valley. This is the remains of the Upper Bleach Works. After Watts, Low & Co. went bankrupt in 1813, John Garton bought the land in the valley. He converted mills on both sides of the road to factories, concentrating on bleaching cotton cloth. In 1907, most of the land in the valley was bought by Ernest Richard Farnsworth, whose family had been operating bleaching works lower down the valley for many years. The business continued until 1929. From here you can see evidence of the influence of Richard Arkwright and the industrial development of Lumsdale. Arkwright had invented a roller spinning machine called the water frame. This harnessed the power of water to spin cotton for the first time on an industrial scale in his factories at Cromford. Arkwright's patent for his water frame was due to run out in 1785, so Watts, Low & Co. anticipated the expiry of the patent and built a 3-storey cotton mill to use Arkwright's technology. So it was this valley which in 1783 to 1784 was part of the early expansion of the Arkwright factory system. Watts, Low & Co. also constructed the upper and middle ponds to provide constant water power and operate in existing mills in the valley. So the 3-storey mill, which now has only 2 stories, is known as Garton's Mill. This mill was connected to the drying room in the Upper Bleach Works by a stone tramway, of which part is still visible beside the road. So this is the Lower Bleach Works. It has some old vats that are the only remaining ones in the country. Now the building in front is the old smithy. We've got a little trough by the side of it, and that's where they used to cool down the iron straight after coming out of the furnace. But we're going to head on and head down the rest of the valley. So this is one of the old mills that's still in use. It's now actually the Bentley Brook Brewing Company, as it says on the door. Now you can see actually here, a lot of trees collapsed. As I was saying that looks like it's been dead or fallen some time. So we're continuing following the brook as we head back down towards Matlock. So these are the Tansley Wood Mills and actually Martin's Textile Limited. So although the mill's buildings are still here, there's not much left beyond what you can see as a frontage. Now there is one more building on my right hand side that we're going to pass. And I believe that's an old corn mill that's now been converted into apartments. So we've got one of the old pump houses that we see around the Peak District here. This mill was built in 1799 for Samuel Unwin. In 1881, Henry Bailey made it a corn mill with a malt house. At the same time, a steam engine was also added. Okay then folks, that is just about the end of the Lumsdale Valley. And hopefully you've enjoyed this little walk, because we're going to sign it off just about here. We're about just less than a kilometre centre of Matlock. So I think this is a fitting end to the end of this walk. If you've enjoyed it, you know what to do. Click the like, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. So now we're actually getting back into editing and actually filming. And I've enjoyed doing this one, and hopefully you've enjoyed watching it. So take care, look after yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye hikers.